You're not the bad guy, nor are you the good guy. You're the guy that stepped up.
This is The Professional Stepdad, a place where we share stories, strategies, and ideas for men just like you to help answer that one important question: how can I be a better stepdad?
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Professional Stepdad Podcast. I am your host, Franco Zavala. This is episode 10. If this is the first time you have watched this show or this is your first time here, I do highly recommend you go back and listen to the welcome episode because it kind of gives a rundown and a blueprint of what this podcast is about, why I started it, the journey that I'm going to take this on, and the direction that I want to go. So again, if this is your first time, if it's not, welcome back. Appreciate you guys coming back. I want to jump right into something that was brought up yesterday that I thought was really, really cool, and I wanted to kind of share this, share this topic and to share my point of view on it and how I think it could play out. So I was reading a Facebook post, and there was a stepdad on the Facebook post that said something along the lines of, he can't win, he's always the bad guy. Right? He's always the bad guy, no matter what he does in the relationship, no matter what he does with the children, when it comes to disciplining or suggesting different ways to handle a situation that probably could use both parents, coming on board and being on the same page. He always feels like he's the bad guy. So then I got to thinking about this whole good guy, bad guy, good cop, bad cop thing that we play as parents, right? So biological parents, just so you know, you guys play a thing called good cop, bad cop, meaning there's not a dominant parent in the relationship, but there's definitely that one, one of you plays the alpha. You make firm decisions. Your word is the last word, and then that's the final decision. You can refer to it as the boss of the household, you name it. So in situations like that, for two biological parents that are raising children, there's a good cop and there's a bad cop, and you can kind of play off one another. But in the position that us stepdads that we find ourselves in, there is no good cop, bad cop. It's either good guy, bad guy. And there's a big difference between the two, because good cop, bad cop can be intertwined and you can switch roles depending on the situation. But when you're a stepdad and you've come into this new home and you have these new children, there is no good cop, bad cop. It is good guy, bad guy. And you always feel like you're the bad guy, no matter what you do. Because in the beginning, you want to do your very best to please everyone within the home. You want to show everybody that you are worthy to be there. You want to show everybody that you want to be there, that you fell in love with your partner, and that you're willing to do whatever it takes. But when it comes to these little scenarios or these situations, and sometimes it's not even about discipline, sometimes it's about life decisions, or maybe it's about where you eat or something that you might set. It doesn't matter, because at the end of the day, a lot of stepdads, I'm going to say the vast majority of them, always feel like the bad guy, right? We always feel like, I read somewhere once that for every bad thing that you do, it takes 7 good things for your child to forget the bad thing. I didn't know that. Thought it was interesting. Think about that. For everything you do bad that you screw up on, which you obviously are not trying to screw up, you're not trying to cause fights, you're not trying to be the bad guy, but for every bad thing that you do, it takes 7 good things for the child to kind of move past it, which is kind of unfair if you really think about it, because that's a ton of playing it safe, if you ask me, when it comes to like how you're going to handle the children within the home, right? So then let's add to this scenario a little bit. So within the home, you're the stepdad, biological mom, you got the kids, you got the good guy, you got the bad guy, and then, which again, you feel like the bad guy all the time. You never feel like the good guy. And when you feel like the good guy, it's funny, because when we feel like the good guy, or we do like a good guy deed, or we have that good guy moment, ever notice how nobody really recognizes it? And we want everybody to kind of give us that, like that sense of we did something amazing. But for the most part, sometimes it goes, just passes right by everybody, or it was like assumed. That's the funny thing. When we do good things as step parents, as a stepdad, when I do a good thing in the beginning, let's back up for a second. As a stepdad, when I did really great things in the beginning, it was looked at like it's a parenting move, something that a parent should do. When in reality, it was actually me putting in tons of effort to try to do that good thing. And it didn't matter, whatever that thing was, it was a lot of walking on eggshells and how am I going to say this and should I do that and playing out the scenarios, and if I do this, will that happen? And you kind of do all these things just to kind of get to this one objective, even though it might be very small. And everybody else sees it as like, well, you're a parent, you need to be doing that. Or yeah, that seems kind of normal. But to you, it's like, no, it wasn't. You have no idea all the talk and the thinking and the negotiating that I had to do with my mind in order for me to even get to a place where I felt comfortable enough to make a decision where it was going to be considered a good move or be considered a positive step. But yet, when we do a bad thing, we raise our voice, we slam the door, we do something that our dad used to do, or we do something that our mom used to do, or we do something that somebody in our family used to do when it comes to like being frustrated or being in an emotional state, and we have a natural reaction. By the way, it's a natural reaction to do what your dad did. It's a natural reaction to do with whomever raised you. It's a natural reaction to kind of parent like they parented you because parented you, yeah. It's a natural thing for you to do the same things that they did because you learned it unconsciously, and it just sat back here and waited and waited and waited and waited. And it kind of poked his head out every now and then when you saw your friends and how they handled and their interaction with their parents, but still it waited. And now you're here and you're put into a parental position. And sometimes the pressure can get high and the energy can get negative enough to where you snap or you react. And you do this thing that you don't mean to do. Trust me, moms, family members, stepdads, I'm going to say, I've always wanted to say this. Stepdads, I'm going to say something to you right now that you could play for all of them. Moms, family members, bio dads, girlfriends of bio dads, aunts, uncles, pastors, neighbors. If we're here, it's because we want to be here, because we want to be great, because we want to be better. But we're not perfect, and we're going to make that mistake, and shit's going to happen. But don't automatically label us the bad guy, because we're not. Because guess what? The bad guy wouldn't even step into this position. The bad guy's not even in this movie. So if we're here, it's because we are trying, but we're going to make mistakes. We were conditioned at a very young age to parent like our parents did, and like our circle of influence did. And we're doing our very best. So cut us some damn slack. Instead of labeling us as the bad guy or pointing your fingers or talking in secret corners about what we did wrong, how about a positive suggestion that's going to benefit me to a point where I can take what you say, apply it to my parenting learning, because that's what we're doing, and continue to move forward on our journey. And that's the reason why a lot of stepdads, guys, that's the reason why a lot of stepdads walk away. That's the reason why a lot of stepdads get the hell out of there, because they don't feel appreciated. They always feel like the bad guy. They're always walking on eggshells, and we're sick and tired of hearing your fucking opinions. We're tired of it. Okay, you're not perfect. I don't care if you're a biological parent or not. You're not perfect. No one is. It doesn't exist. All we can be is perfect in the moments, as best as we can, and hope that the decisions that we make within those moments will be beneficial for our growth in our family. But stepdads, I get it. A lot of you can never even get to that point because I'm done. No way. I'm good. I don't need to put up with this shit. I really wish that this video can be sent to every other person that wants to give their opinions on a negative way, or give their, chime in, or however you want to phrase that. I wish this could be sent to them so they could know, like, they back off, cut us some slack. Oh, guys, guess what, moms? Guess what, partners? Guess what, bio dads? We want to be the good guy too. That's why we're here. But we also want to be respected. We want to feel like we're a part of the family. It's a 50-50 split. Like, yes, we're not biologically their parents, but we're there. We have traded what we were doing with our home and our life to be here because we want to be, but we want to feel valued. We want to feel like we belong. So please don't label us the bad guy when we do bad things, because the bad things are not intentional. And sometimes I know that they're going to feel like we did things intentionally, like we intentionally meant to yell or scream or slam or throw or whatever it might be, but it's not intentional. But when you label us the bad guy and then you attack us, do you think we're going to just roll over? No, we're going to defend ourselves. And when we defend ourselves, it makes us look more guilty, adds fuel to the fire. And then you have those idiots in the corner over there saying, see, I told you he was like that. They don't know shit, stepdads. I know you because I am you. I know you, and I know you're trying, and I know you've messed up, and I know you've made mistakes. But we're not the bad guys. Shit, we're not the good guys. We don't want to be either or. We want to go back and forth. There's no such thing as the bad guy, good guy. And that whole phrase, or the way we handle that good guy, bad guy situation, needs to be thrown out the window. Just throw it out. Trust me, if you and your partner can get on the same page because you've talked it through and you have a game plan on how you want to raise the children within the confines of your environment. You can only control what's around you, guys. That's it. You can only control your situation. You can't control what happens at the bio dad's house. You can't control what happens at Aunt Stacy's house. You can't. All you can control is when the kids walk through the door, how are you going to handle it? Have you earned enough respect within the home, and have you defined your value to the point where you can say things and people actually take you serious and they don't blow you off? Or you can say things in an authoritative manner and people don't label you as some asshole or some bad guy. And if you haven't got to that position yet, it's simply because you and your partner are not on the same page when it comes to your parenting skills. Because guess what? This is what I learned. This is very important for all you guys to know this. The relationship that I had with my wife's mom and my wife's grandma when I first came into this family was one of, like, they were on my butt every step of the way. And the reason for that was because of the relationship that they had, the very negative relationships that they had with stepdads in the past. So they immediately and automatically held me to the exact same standard that their stepdads in their life did as they raised them. The point I'm trying to make is that it wasn't until my wife and I sat down, so we had a long conversation about how I felt. I was very clear and honest with her. I'm like, listen, I don't feel like I can ever get two words in with your mom or your grandma. I feel like they have more persuasion over the decisions that are made within the home than I do. And it's almost like they felt like they had more of a right to be there than me. And that didn't feel fair to me. I mean, yes, they are their biological grandparents, right? I get that. Like, that's my wife's mom, that's my wife's grandma, and I respect and love them, but they shouldn't have more sway within the family when it comes to, like, punishments or talks or, you name it, right? But that's how it was. So when my wife and I decided, well, let me rephrase this. My wife and I sat down and I explained everything to her, how I felt, how it made me felt, every situation, what they would say, things that they would say to me that they didn't want me to tell her, but I told her anyway. And I didn't do that to lose their trust. I did that to gain more value. It wasn't going behind their back. It was me trying to kind of dig in deeper and to let everybody know that I wasn't going anywhere. But my wife and I had to get on the same page first. And when we got on the same page, I found out quickly that my wife was equally scared to say anything around her own mother and her own grandmother, because she was afraid of what may or may not be said. So when we went at the whole situation together as a team and they saw a united front, guys, it was amazing. They backed away. Yeah, they didn't just back away immediately, but they did. And now my wife and I equally run our house with no bad guy, good cop, bad cop, nothing. I believe that my wife is the boss. I believe that she's the queen of this house, and I will teach everybody to respect her decisions and respect the things that she says. And I know that I am the decision maker. When decisions need to be made and important things need to happen, I am the person that can get the ball rolling. But make no mistake about it, none of it works without her and I being the good guy and the bad guy, right? Equal, 50-50. And that's what I want to make sure I tell you stepdads today. There is going to be a time where they're going to back off. There's going to be a time where you're not going to be the bad guy anymore. There's going to be a time where everything that you think is wrong, or where you're kind of losing that hope, if you can just stay with it, you're going to see the tables turn in your favor, because you're defining your value and you're showing everybody, hey, I'm not going anywhere. So back off. I'm not going anywhere. So stop judging me. Yeah, I did this. Yes, I did that. But that doesn't mean I'm a bad guy. It just means I'm a person. I'm a parent. I'm a parent that gets frustrated like everybody else. The difference between me and the people that you, for some strange reason, want to compare me to is I'm not going to react in a way that they did, because I'm up here. I worked on me first. So yes, I did this, but I'm also aware that I did whatever that negative thing was, and I'm able to finesse it and work it so that I could still continue to move forward towards the growth of my family. And stepdads, you need to understand that that is a place that you need to get in your life. On the same page with your partner, because it's an equal split. There is no good guy, bad guy. Let go of that bullshit. It doesn't exist, but none of it can get there. You can't get there. Your spouse can't get there. You guys will never be a perfect team without first working on yourselves individually, then coming together, working on the partnership. And then you guys can attack this parenting thing. And I'm telling you, the moment we did that, everything changed for us. The moment. Yes, it took us 6 years to get to that point. It took us 6 years. Because I tried to parent like my dad did and my mom did, and that was just not the right way. It was not. It wasn't going to work for this new way. It wasn't going to work for this style of parenting. And it's funny because every time I tried to do that, it pushed against me. But when I became aware of it, and instead of trying to do what I normally do, I did the opposite. Same effect, different outcome. Wasn't so hard. It wasn't as stressful as it always had been. So stepdads, just remember this, okay? To the gentleman that wrote that on the Facebook page about, I always feel like the bad guy in the situation, you're not, man. You always feel like the bad guy because you're calling yourself the bad guy. Stop labeling yourself this bullshit because it's familiar or it's accepted. You're not the bad guy, nor are you the good guy. You're the guy that stepped up. And we're going to go home with that. This is the Professional Stepdad Podcast. I am your host, Franco Zavala. Guys, thanks again for joining me. Episode 10. I love doing this, and I love sharing my thoughts, but more importantly, I want to hear from you guys. I want to hear your success stories or your failure stories that had a great teaching moment. Send me an email, contact@francozavala.com. Send me an email. I would love to talk to you. Until then, I'll see you guys next time.
Quiet on the set, please. Thank you, everybody.